Dale Earnhardt has been dead for 25 years, but he's still held as the best. It feels as though you might see the number 3 car pop up from a pack of cars still today, like a ghost. Dale's death didn't just hurt a whole industry. It hurt people that loved Dale, ones that never even met him. But the fact that Dale stood for the common man, that worked hard for what he had, whether big or small compared to each other, it didn't matter. He was the common blue-collar man's racer. The side that we learned about Dale, that we didn't know when he passed, was how hard his family and friends loved him. He was the biggest pillar, holding up a kingdom. It doesn't seem fair that he had to die that day, but it seems like it was meant to be at the same time. How else does a legend die? Not doing what they built. It seems as though a piece of the sport was lost that day, and since then, racing has never had another one like Dale, and it's safe to say they're not going to. This is a sad day in Daytona, when Earnhardt would die.
Dale Earnhardt will start from 7th position today.
Dale Senior folks are doing all they can to help Michael make that happen.
The racetrack, Earnhardt is it when you come to Daytona. He's looking for his 2nd Daytona 500 win today. He'll be turning 50 years old.
Earnhardt, Sterling got it.
In the final moments of NASCAR's premier event to attempt to put this terrible loss in.
Today it's one of its saddest. Dale Earnhardt has been pronounced dead at Halifax Hospital this evening.
The accident and turned forward at the end of the Daytona 500. We've lost Dale Earnhardt.
Win day. A little exciting. I think it's going to be some exciting racing. Going to see something you probably had never seen on Fox.
In 2001, the world was different, and entertainment was held around television still, and one sport was at its peak at that moment in time. It was NASCAR. It had its champions that people cheered for, but it only had one king that they loved over. Dale at this point was far into his career and didn't have much time left with racing. Retirement was being talked about with people around Dale, but Dale himself was not backing down and letting the old man in. He wasn't going to turn the car off anytime soon. His love for racing had only grown in the decades, making a legacy as the top racer in the sport. Fame and fortune had been achieved and captured long ago, but now Dale was just out for fun and the thrill of the win. But the element of racing had changed a little in the past years. With Dale on the track, he was out there with his son, father and son, side by side. It only had grabbed the attention of the fans even more, making the Earnhardt legacy that much stronger. With people's obsession, it seemed like nothing could tear it apart. Even if he didn't win a race, people were still talking about Dale and how he handled the race. Off the track, Dale had the life of a kid. He loved to fish, be with friends, also known to be a jokester to people that he loved and trusted. He had his kingdom, his home, where he spent much of his time playing with the spoils of victory over the years, cars, boats, and his favorite, his dozer. Life for Dale was amazing, from a boy that grew up having nothing, but throughout the decades, Dale's career had beaten him down as well. He has some of the most violent crashes in the sport to date. Over the years, Dale's body, especially his neck, had taken bad damage, from whiplash to head-on collisions. He was told by his doctor to start looking at hanging it up and driving off into the sunset and be happy with what he had done in the sport, but Dale wasn't having it. When 2001 rolls around, Dale knows his days are numbered for capturing one more big win at Daytona. So when that February comes up, Dale's at Daytona and ready to win. He's spending his last week at Daytona, giving interviews and saying that he feels good and he's happy with his car, that she's got a good motor in her, and it did. It would lead him all the way to the last lap, almost winning the race. Remarkably, something that seems surreal would happen. Before the race at Daytona would take place, the drivers spend time at Daytona practicing and then qualifying for a top spot. To see where they start in the race, one last full interview from Dale would happen. It's a playful interview. Dale's talking to his good friend on the other end, Dale Waltrip. The weird twist to the conversation is that it consists around safety. Dale talking about his helmet and what to do when a wreck occurs, but he's cheerful and playful in the interview. He gets in his car, grabs his steering wheel, locks it on, puts his helmet on, and backs his car out of his garage. The same car, same suit, same helmet, same steering wheel. that he'll lose his life with. Sadly for a man that loved his privacy, will have his last moments seen and documented in front of millions of people. Going into the Daytona 500 with a new racing year in 2001 was met with hope. The year prior in 2000 was a hard year for NASCAR, as it had lost 3 racers in just 1 year. The industry itself was set on making new adjustments for safety, and is why many of the interviews you hear Dale talking, it's about safety. The drivers are having meetings non-stop about this particular subject, but it'll take one more loss for NASCAR to revamp all of their tracks. Dale himself still used an open face helmet while wearing goggles. It was something he had done early in his career and never stopped. He liked it, but an element that would sadly come back up. The day of the race in 2001, February 18th, it was a warm, windy day in Daytona, Florida. People have been camping at the track all week, waiting for the big race. Over 150,000 people were in attendance, and with millions watching, it's one of the biggest races of the year. Dale and his son, Dale Jr., will start in the front of the race, and will stay there essentially the whole time. The cars enter the track, they warm up their tires, and then it begins. The green flag goes, and Dale will start his last race. The ground shakes, the fans cheer, and the cars race at 170 miles an hour. People are amazed that Dale and his son are staying so close to each other and fighting for position as the leader, but obviously working together. Fans are hoping that Earnhardt will win. The race will last 3 hours and 5 minutes. Dale talks to his pit crew while driving. He's in good spirits and keeping focus. One wreck in particular in the race happens. It's a huge wreck, but remarkably, Dale just misses the wreck, driving straight through it by inches. If he had only spun out and damaged his car, he may have survived that day. As the race comes to an end, everyone's pushing for the lead spot, but there's 3 cars that are pushing for the win. In the lead coming up to the last laps, it's Dale Waltrip, and right behind him, on his back bumper, is Dale Jr., pushing, fighting for a win. The crowd is going crazy, but right behind Dale Jr. is his father, Dale Earnhardt, who knows more than likely at this point that he's not going to pull this one off, but he's still helping his son out, you can tell, as much as he can. He's trying everything to hold back the cars behind him, piles of them. They're trying to get past Dale. As the 199 lap comes up of the 200, they come around the last turn, piles of cars, roaring, going fast as they can. The track rumbles, people are screaming, the racers finding themselves fighting for any position, when all of a sudden, the wind shifts, and just by slight contact, going 170 miles an hour, Dale's car comes into contact with Ken Schrader. The Schrader car plows into Dale's car, the passenger side door, pushing him straight into the wall at Daytona at a top speed. Before the cars even roll off the track down to the grass, the race is over. Dale Waltrip takes the win, but Dale Jr. right behind him in second place. Ken Schrader and Dale are at the bottom now. 2 torn up cars smoking. Their cars are stuck together. It's a wild end to a big race, but it's only about to get wilder. Schrader steps out of his car, but Dale hasn't moved. Everyone rushes to the crash. People that know Dale personally know that throughout the years when Dale gets into a wreck, he's the first one out of his car. And when he's not moving from what they think is a simple wreck, they become worried. When help makes it to Dale, he's not moving and laying in his car, unresponsive. Large amounts of blood are seen when they make it to Dale. It's obvious they know they need to act fast. NASCAR help would act as fast as they can, but will have to cut into Dale's car to take him out of it. When they make it to him, they pull him onto a stretcher, loading him onto the ambulance that's backed up right to his car. With that, the ambulance pulls off immediately. They cover Dale's car with the tarp so no one is able to take pictures of the inside. Already had the terrible suspicion the bad news is on the way. Helicopters are following the ambulance all the way to the hospital, but towards the end of the drive, the ambulance slows down dramatically, which indicates they have a person with a broken back, or it means DOA. As the ambulance pulls into the hospital, some press is already there, and for a moment you can see Dale on the stretcher being taken in. He's still in his driving suit. They take Dale into a private room where they work on him, but it doesn't take long before doctors can see that Dale has died long ago. Dale Jr. arrives at the hospital where he's told his father is gone. Dale died on a Sunday doing what he loved. The cause of death was multiple elements, from a fractured skull to massive impact to the face, down to a broken neck. Dale had no time to react to the wreck, and it's believed that he was knocked unconscious and died not long after that, while sitting in the seat of his car, right after hitting the wall. The news breaks that night to the world, and it's a hard reality for people to accept. Not only did a great man die, but a husband, a friend, and a father that was adored by his children. It doesn't seem real to this day that Dale lost his life in Daytona, but it's a hard image to imagine Dale Earnhardt becoming an old man and just fading away on his front porch. Dale Jr. would go on to be champion over the next decade. NASCAR changed many of its tracks, where drivers would hit top speeds, adding support barriers behind the walls to help with impact. For years after Dale's death, NASCAR fans would lift their hands in the air at every third lap to respect the number 3 car, Dale Earnhardt, their king, the man that will never be forgotten as long as racing is around, Dale Earnhardt.